What's going on, everyone? So going into off season, just hearing what JJ Redick was talking about and all those things, I said that I believe that the Lakers could be in that 4 to 6 range, right? Better health, better chemistry, better coaching, right? Guys slotted in better positioning. You're actually running sets and better defense, stuff like that. I think the Lakers could be in that 4 to 6 range. I look at last season. Lakers won 47 games, and that was with Darvin Ham being a liability, and that's with the Lakers going on a 10 out of 13 stretch in which they lost 10 out of 13 games. If they just win half of those games, they're a top 4 seed. Now, a lot of people talk about, look at all these teams, they're getting better, they're getting better, they're getting better. They really aren't, right? And it's like, all these teams have real questions. And after the Minnesota trade, I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers are in that 2 to 4 range, right? Because going in, assuming all was the same, the consensus thought was OKC is going to be at the top. And I still believe that. Still believe OKC will be at the top. Then it was 2 through 4 is going to be some combination of Dallas, Denver, and Minnesota. Dallas lost all of their defensive pieces, brought in Naji Marshall, which is good. Okay, he's a piece. But Klay Thompson, who even Mark Cuban is hey, we're hopeful, we're hoping, he's not even sure of what you're getting from Klay Thompson. Also, their offense makes zero sense for Klay Thompson. And Mark Cuban said they're not changing the offense. Before their little getting hot and run, they look like a team that might miss the play-in again, early in the season. Now, they go and trade for Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington. They kind of gave them the 1-2 punch that was able to kind of elevate them. But they lost most of their key defensive pieces, right? So, Dallas got to the finals on their defense, not their offense. So, it's going to be interesting to see how does Dallas play out. Now, I'm not saying Dallas is going to miss the play-in or anything like that. Still going to be a good team. But them being in that top 2-3 range, I don't think is as big of a lock as it is otherwise. And you saw Kyrie and Luka really clunky during the regular season. And then they kind of figured it out for this stretch. And then really figured it out in the playoffs, or at least the Western Conference. And then got to Boston and just resorted right back to the clunkiness, right? Rather than working together as a team. So that right there, again, I'm not I think they're going to be good, but I'm not top 2-3 good. Minnesota, there is a real question of how do they look, right? Now, Julius Randle, if you get that efficient Julius Randle, if you get the Julius Randle that, 40% from 3, a 25, 10, and 6 guy that's just doing a little everything, bought in on the defensive side of things, then yes, Minnesota is going to be really good, and they'll probably be top 2, maybe even number 1, right? Because I do think DiVincenzo and stuff like that will really add to this team. But if you get the 32% from 3-point range, Julius Randle, under 50% from the field, Julius Randle, who's just very inefficient, right? Yeah, he's still, giving you 8 to 10 rebounds and 5 to 6 assists, but he's not very efficient. Doesn't fit well alongside Rudy Gobert. It's clunky now, and now Anthony Edwards isn't able to be Anthony Edwards because you got the paint packed between Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert, where teams are just let Randle shoot. And all of a sudden, you could look up, and Minnesota could start sliding down, right? There's a lot of questions about Minnesota. Right? There was a consensus thought again that they were 2nd or 3rd at worst in the West. And now it's I wouldn't be shocked if they're a play-in team. Genuinely. Depending on how Randall works out, that could be a total mess. And they're counting on Naz Reid to continue to be as great as he was last year, right? Not saying he won't be, not saying he can't, but there's a lot of questions, again, about the Minnesota Timberwolves. Chemistry, learning curve, right? There's a lot that goes into Minnesota. Denver, again, I believe is going to still be very good. But they lost Bruce Brown after winning the championship, and then they lost KCP. And they don't have Russell Westbrook is not replacing KCP. Mike Malone's over here trying to hype up Russell Westbrook like everyone else has tried to do the last 5 years, and it just hasn't worked, right? Like, oh, he might close games because defensively, like, yeah, we heard the same thing from the Clippers, and guess what? He wasn't, right? Heard the same thing from the Lakers, and guess what? He wasn't, right? So, again, they're not, like, they're going to take a skid. What kind of skid? I don't know. Do they fall? I wouldn't be shocked if they're 5th or 6th, right? The idea is they're probably still going to be in that 3 to 6 range, but, you know, they already were talking about how tired they were last year. And they finished a grueling game 7. Yeah, it was only the second round, but still. Yeah, they had a little rest, but Jokic was playing in the Olympics. So he went straight from that to the Olympics. So again, like, how does that look? Tired legs, things like that. I mean, you could argue the same thing about LeBron and Anthony Davis, but we'll get to the Lakers here in a moment. All right, so you look at Denver, you look at Dallas, you look at Minnie, and it doesn't look so promising. Again, they very well could fall 2 through 4. I'm not saying that they won't. There's just questions now. There's just, at the end of last season, all things the same, it's like, no, that's your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in whichever order. But now, all of a sudden, Dallas kind of has several guys leave and some new guys come back, and some of those guys are questionable. Minnie pulls off this trade that's really questionable. Denver loses a couple guys and don't replace them. You just start looking down the West, and it's like, you know what? The Lakers could be there. And then even the other teams. Pelicans, right? They're a team that has looked at that got better. Did they? They don't have a center. They're going to be incredibly small. You have Brandon Ingram, who doesn't even want to be there. He's not even showing up for team meetings and training camps. Like, granted, they're voluntary, but still, right? You're trying to team build and stuff like that. He's not showing up to that. What does he look like in training camp? Does he just sabotage that team? Or does he end up does he get like a nagging injury or something light, and all of a sudden he's missing 40 games when really it's like, he would have been back in 3 days, right? But he's like, oh man, it still hurts, right? Like, does he start doing that? Because no center and swapping DeJounte Murray for Brandon Ingram does not make the Pelicans better. It just doesn't. Sacramento. I've talked about Sacramento heavily. The last thing Sacramento needed was another ball-dominant, ISO-heavy, half-court, non-three-point shooting, non-defending player. Every year, Sacramento is towards the top on pace. They're usually top 1 to 3 in pace. They're usually top 3 in three-point attempts, right? And they have De'Aaron Fox, who has been top 3 to 5 in fourth quarter usage, as well as scoring and effectiveness and all that stuff, like win shares, all that, right? Plus minus, right? And then Malik Monk. And now what? Now you're gonna go tiny? You're gonna have what's your starting 5? You're going Fox, Ellis, DeMar, Murray, and Sabonis? You're tiny? Outside of Ellis and Fox, you have zero defense out on the perimeter, right? Ellis is really good, but, in Fox, he can be, but he has so much to do on the offensive end. Like, does DeMar DeRozan kind of balance that out? But you're small, don't have great defense, and then to close those games, what? Are you just not going to play Malik Monk? Are you just not going to play DeMar DeRozan? Because if you are, what are you going to go, Fox, Monk, Ellis, DeMar, and Sabonis? Now you're even tinier and even worse defensively. Right? So, again, I'm not super sold on Sacramento. Now, there are teams like the Warriors, right? We'll see how much better they are. I think that they did some nice things. The Clippers, they're cooked. Clippers might not even make the play. Right? The Clippers, again, Kawhi Leonard can't even stay healthy. His knees are already shot. So they're cooked. Right? Again, you don't think that the Lakers, again, with better coaching, if you're somebody that believed Darvin Ham impacted wins and losses last season in a negative light, then there's no way you can't tell me that if JJ Redick and this coaching staff is better, that they won't positively impact wins and losses. JJ Redick has already identified all of the Lakers' issues last year. We talked about it all season long in live streams and just videos and comment section and all that stuff. You and I were able to define it. we were able to see how blatantly obvious some of these things were, and yet Darvin Ham just was oblivious to it all. JJ Redick has already identified every issue that the Lakers had. It has been a breath of fresh air. I mean, listening to him talk about Rui and Rui's impact and how effective he is, as the mismatch down on the block and getting him into the mid-range, and how good he is in the mid-range. He's in like the 2%, 1%, whatever, right? Like, it's just like, thank you. Like, hearing how he plans to utilize Anthony Davis, it's like, thank you, right? Hearing about running actual offensive sets and not just having LeBron dribbling out the clock for 20 of 24 seconds. Thank you. Talking about how he can be better on defense schemes, right? Like, again, it's one thing to identify and talk about. It's another thing to actually fix and properly have guys prepared and ready, right? But if he can do even a couple of those things, I mean, there's like a handful of things. If he can just clear up one handful, Lakers are going to be better. Again, Lakers won 47 games last year. To think that they can't win 50 plus this year and be a top 5 seed, I don't know. And some of these Eastern teams are going to be better, right? So I don't know if the West is going to dominate. Like, part of the reason that the West was so tight was because the East had an atrocious record against Western Conference teams. Like, the Western Conference just ran through the East. I don't know if that happens as much this year, right? Again, you got the Knicks, who's going to be better start to finish. You got the Celtics again. You have the Sixers, who, depending on how Paul George works out, probably going to be really good. Cavs, we'll see what they can do. Orlando is going to be pretty good, right? Like, you start looking at some of these Eastern Conference teams, they're coming, right? They're going to be good. I think it's a two-man race in the East, in my opinion. I think Boston and New York are kind of the two standouts, and then there's kind of like everyone else. But that doesn't mean that some of these teams don't match up and aren't going to pull off some wins against these Western Conference teams. All right, so again, better health, better chemistry, better coaching, right? Better consistency from guys, Austin Reeves, guys like that. They can have better consistency. Telling you, I really think that the Lakers could be a top 2 to 5 seed. So stay tuned. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, like, yeah, we had this thought that, hey, these teams were going to be the top 4 teams, and they have clearly have some issues. Clippers are falling off. You got all these teams falling off. It's not going to be as straightforward as it was thought to be. Or do you think, it's still going to be the same result? Lakers bad. Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.